Hey there! In this video, we'll talk about authorization with the ABP framework. We'll first see how the authorization works, and we'll take a look at the users and roles of the ABP framework, and we'll also take a look at the PermissionValueProvider, the IAbpClaimsPrincipalContributor, and the policy-based authorization. Now, the very first thing that we need to take a look at is permissions. In the application contracts project, I'm going to find the permissions folder, and I'm starting with this class, the issue management permissions. Right here, we are just setting up strings to name our permissions, and in the permission definition provider, we're deriving the class that's coming from the ABP framework, and we're using its method to add our permissions. We've got the add group method that's going to add the issue management as a permission. And we've got both the parent permissions for customer groups and the customers, along with the child permissions. And all of these names are coming from our strings that we set up right here. And these are our localizations. We can find our localization in the domain shared project. Right here. So this piece of code will look like this in our application. ABP also supports multi-tenancy as a first-class citizen, and we can define the multi-tenancy side option when we're defining the parent permission right here. As you can see, the third parameter right here defines the multi-tenancy side. It's got three options: the host, the tenant, and both. If you wanted the permission to only be available for the host side, then you can select host. Otherwise, you could either choose the tenant or both, which is the default. And you could also use the getPermissionOrNull method if you wanted to change the definition of an existing permission, for example. Next up, let's move to our application services. Now, ASP.NET Core defines the authorized attribute that can be used for an action, controller, or a page. ABP allows you to use the same attribute for an application service as well, same as what we're doing right here. And this right here is defining the policy of the authorized attribute, which is the customer. And we could of course also use the allow anonymous attribute if we wanted to make a method available for all the users, including the unauthorized ones. So we have defined the policies right here, the authorized for the create customer, coming also from here, for the update, and also for the delete. Same thing for our customer group app service. As you can see right here, we are authorizing this in general, and we've also got one for the create, the update, and the delete. As for the crewed customer group app service, which we've generated the auto API controllers from, authorizing the methods is a little bit different. We are adding our policies right here in the constructor, and we have just passed in the strings that we've created right here in the issue management permissions. And as for the methods that we're overriding, the checkUpdatePolicyAsync method is usually called by default, but as long as we are overriding a method that's coming from a base class, then we should call it again at the beginning of the method to make sure that our policies are being checked. Let us test and see. I'm running the HTTP API host, the web host, and the auth server. If we come to the web host, it's going to redirect us to the auth server so we can log in. And then we're back to the web host, and we can see the users and the roles right here. As for the roles, I've created a small role right here, and I called it user role. And if we see the permissions, we can see the issue management, and we can see that the users under this role will be able to manipulate the customer group management, the create, edit, and delete. If we take a look at the users, I've created a small user right here, and I gave it the user role that we've created earlier. And if we take a look at the permissions of it, we can see that we cannot manipulate these because they're coming from the role. If we take the role away, we can see that we can manipulate them right now. Let's give it the role back. And then let us log out and let us log in again with the user. And then I'm going to move to the Swagger UI and I'm going to find the customer group endpoint and I'm going to test the get method. I'm going to authorize and then I'm going to try it out. And as you can see, it's a success, 200. Let's check out the token. And as you can see, we've got everything about our user. The username, the email, the role, which is the user role, and the given name and everything. And we can also see its claims. And if we go back to our web host and log in as the admin and take away the role, and then log back in and then test the Swagger again, and you can see it's a 403 forbidden because of our authorization attribute. ABP lets you use the authorized attribute with the application services. Say we've got an advanced scenario where we would give the permission or prohibit the permission according to a very specific claim type. A specific name, for example, or a specific phone number. That's where the permission value providers come in. The permission checking system is extensible. Any class derived from permission value provider or implements the permission value provider can contribute to the permission check. And we've got 3 predefined value providers. The user permission value provider that depends on a specific user and gets it from the ABP claim types. And it checks if the current user is granted for the given permission, and it gets the user ID from the current claims. We've also got the role permission value provider that does the same thing according to the role, and the client permission value provider that does the same thing but according to the client, which is especially useful on a machine-to-machine interaction where there is no current user. And we can define our own permission value provider the same way we're doing right here, and we're doing it according to the name. We're deriving the permission value provider class, and we're overriding both of these methods, so we can look for the name, taking it from the claim types. This one's for a single result, and this one's for multiple results. And we've also implemented the IPermissionStore interface so that we can read the value of permissions. And after retrieving the name, we are going to call the checkNameAsync method that we've created right here. It is of type permission grant result, which has got 3 options, either undefined, granted, or prohibited. The single result one's an enum of 3 choices, undefined, granted, or prohibited. And the multiple result one's got these. And after retrieving the name of the user from the claim types, we're going to call the checkNameAsync method that we've created right here. And it must return one of these 3, either granted, prohibited, or undefined. For testing purposes, if the first name is my own name, then we're going to give it the admin role. If it was not my own name, then it's going to be prohibited, even if it had the admin role. If it were neither of these strings, not this string and not this string, then it's going to be undefined. And it's not going to change anything. And so it'll return one of these. And in the module class, in the configure services method, we have added the name checkPermissionValueProvider class to it. And let us test and see. See right here, we've got 2 users. The first one is my name. If we take a look, the first name is the same string that we're looking for. This one. If we see the roles, it does not have the admin role nor the user role. And if we see the other one, we'll see that the name of it is the other string that we're looking for. In the roles right here, it's got the admin role. Let's test them and see. First of all, I'm going to log in with the first one and let us authorize. Let's try it out and see. And as you can see, we can get our customer groups. Let's check the bearer. And as you can see right here, the first name right here is the same string that we're looking for, and it does not have the admin role. This alone gave it the permission to do whatever it wants, even if it were not the admin. And now I'm going to log in with the other one, and I'm going to authorize. And I'm going to try to get our customer groups. And as you can see, it's a 403 forbidden. Let's check the token, put it right here. And you can see the string is the one that we're looking for, and the role is the admin, but it still cannot call the method that it's authorized to call. And that's because of the string right here. And we can also debug int C. Prohibited. Claims are important elements of authentication and authorization. ABP uses the IAbp Claims Principal factory service to create claims on authentication. And this service was designed as extensible. If you need to add your custom claims to the authentication ticket, you can implement the IAbp ClaimsPrincipalContributor in your application. And we've got a very good example that adds a claim of full name as soon as it sees a name and surname together that are not null. It first grabs the identity, and then it checks whether it's got a name and a surname, and if both are not null nor empty, then it adds a new claim called full name. Let's see this in action. Now, I am logged in right here as the admin, and if you see, we've only got the first name, and I'm going to change it to my own name. I'm going to save this. I'm logged in Postman as the admin, and I'm going to get a new access token. I'm going to proceed, and I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to put the token right here, and as you can see, there is nothing right here called full name. If we get back here and put a last name for it, and then get a new access token, and copy it, and paste it right here, and we can see the full name. The claim was added only when it saw that both the name and the surname are neither null nor empty. Remember when I showed you the customer app service at the beginning of the video? We've had this authorization right here and I did not explain it. And that is called policy-based authorization. In the application contracts module class right here, we have added a policy right here for authorization and we called it full name control. And what is the claim that it requires? The full name that we've created earlier. Let's test it. Now, if we take a look at the admin user, we can see that it's only got a name and it does not have a surname. So let us try to call the getListAsync method that's got policy-based authorization. I'm going to find Swagger and I'm going to authorize. Let's make sure. Yes, we're logged in as admin. And let's try to call the getListAsync method of the customer. And as you can see, we're getting a 403. Whereas we've got this user that's got the admin role and it's got a name and the surname. So it does have the full name. And let us log out. And then let us authorize again. Let's log in with the user. And let's try calling the method. And as you can see, it succeeded. Let's check the token. As you can see, we've got the full name. And that is the reason it is succeeding, because of our policy-based authorization. This has been the authorization from the ABP framework. Please refer back to the documentation for more information. Thank you for watching and see you next time.